Hello, my name is Aquilla Robinson. I am the auntie of Miss K, the founder and creator of Our Community Reads. My role as part of Our Community Reads is the historian and the videographer. Today I'm going to be reading a book called Fancy Party Gowns, which is one of my favorites. I love getting dressed up. Um, I graduated from Ypsilanti High School and I attended Perry Elementary School when I was a little girl. I have one grown daughter. Her name is Jaslyn, and she will be 24 next month. So let's get into the story. Fancy party gowns. Who loves dressing up? I know I do. Okay, the story is of a fashion designer named Anne Cole Lowe. Fancy party gowns. Oh, look at all the nice gowns. Fancy party gowns, the story of fashion designer Anne Cole Lowe by Deborah Blumenthal, illustrated by Laura Freeman. When she was old enough to thread a needle, Anne Cole Lowe's mama and grandma taught her how to sew. Wisps of cloth would fall from their work tables like confetti, and Anne would scoop them up and turn them into flowers as bright as roses in the garden. Anne's family came from Alabama. Her great-grandma had been a slave, so her family knew about working hard just to get by. Anne also knew that doing what you love could set your spirit soaring. So that's what she did, working near her mama in the family shop, making glorious dresses for women who went to fancy parties. That old sewing machine.
Mm-hmm. I think somebody had one.
But when Anne was 16, death stole away her mama. There was no one to care for her anymore, and no one to make the dresses. Wow, that had to be hard. The Alabama governor's wife was waiting for her gowns and thought about what she could do, not what she couldn't change. So she sat down and sewed the dresses herself. Then she stood up and ran the business. So she took over her mom's business.
At 16.
At 16, she thought about what she could do, not what she couldn't change. In 1916, Anne got a job sewing dresses for a woman in Florida. A year later, the woman sent her to design school in New York. Anne was a good student and a fast learner. Well, that was very generous of that woman to send her to school. But it was 1917, and Anne had to study in a separate classroom all alone because she was African American, and life wasn't fair. Wow, I wonder how lonely that must have been. But that didn't stop Anne. She kept on making extravagant gowns, and year after year, more and more women wanted to wear them. Elegant dresses, party gowns, no two alike. I feel so happy when I'm making clothes that I could just jump up and down with joy, she said. Finally, Anne saved enough money to open a salon of her own in Manhattan. She had big bills to pay and sometimes not enough money to pay them. That didn't stop her. When Anne saw obstacles, she thought about what she could do and not what she couldn't change.
I love that.
One day, Anne got a special order. A lady in Washington, D.C. was marrying a senator. 7 years later, this man, John F. Kennedy, would become president of the United States. Anne bought 50 yards of the finest ivory silk taffeta and the trimmings to go with it. For months, she cut and sewed. The gown had a wide bouffant skirt with pleated bands and tiny wax flowers. Anne also made all the dresses for the wedding party. Wow, that's a lot of dresses for one person to do. But she thought about what she could do, and not what she couldn't change. Then, just 10 days before the wedding, Anne opened the door to her workroom. "No!" she cried. A pipe had burst. Water gushed everywhere, flooding everything. 10 of the 16 gowns were destroyed. Oh, wow. Anne thought about... Yeah, I know, right? Anne thought about what she could do, not what she couldn't change. So what could she do? She bought more fabric and trim and hired others to help. She lost money instead of earning it. In just 8 days and 8 nights, Anne and her team remade all the dresses. But when Anne bought the gowns to the mansion in Newport, Rhode Island, where the wedding reception would take place, the butler who opened the door told her she'd have to use the back entrance that was meant for workers. Anne said that if she had to enter through the back door, the bride and bridesmaids wouldn't be wearing her dresses for the wedding. She entered through the front door. That's right. If they want these dresses,
She took a stand.
she had to take a stand. The day of the wedding, all the world saw the future First Lady of the United States, Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy, in her magnificent gown, and her bridesmaids dressed in blush pink silk veil. Don't know if I said that right, but Anne Lowe. Hardly anyone knew something more important, the name of the woman who had created all those gowns despite the odds. Why? Because Anne Cole Lowe was African American and life wasn't fair. That didn't stop Anne. Famous women wore her gowns at big galas and on television. "I like to hear about it," said Anne. The oohs and ahs as they come into the ballroom. Anne didn't make fine clothes to get rich or famous. She made them, she said, to prove that a Negro can become a major dress designer. Slowly, Anne got the recognition she deserved. In 1961, she was named official courtier to honor her for the 33 Cinderella gowns she designed for a fancy ball in Omaha, Nebraska. After so long, Anne stood up before fashion's biggest names, head held high, and they applauded her. Official courtier. The end.